People to hear.
Oh,
Okay, it's 6 o'clock, and we'll call the Cathedral City Planning Commission of August 21st, 2024 to order. Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner McPhail,
Here.
Commissioner Mead,
here.
Vice Chairman Malakoff.
Present.
Thank you. Let the record show that we have a quorum.
Thank you, and let's all stand and give Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Okay. Public comments. We're obligated to open the public comments whether they're here or not. And the public is invited to address the Planning Commission on any matter not on the agenda. If you wish to speak on an agenda item, please wait to be recognized under that item. Except for special circumstances, the Brown Act prohibits the Planning Commission or staff from responding or taking action on any comments made by the public unless it pertains to an item that appears on the agenda. All speakers should give their name and city of residence. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Have we received any notices for speakers?
No speaker slips.
Okay. So then we'll move on to approval of minutes. On our August 7th, 2024 minutes, we were all at that meeting. Is there anybody that would like to speak on this item?
We have no one wishing to speak.
Are there, fellow commissioners, are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? And do we have a motion if there's no corrections?
Move approval.
Let the record show that a motion was made by Commissioner McPhail and seconded by Commissioner Mead, and motion passed all ayes.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. So that brings us to, we're just moving. Moves us to item 3A, a conditional use permit 16-40B, to consider a conditional use permit to expand an existing cannabis cultivation business with an adjacent 2,500 square foot building within the same property located in the CB2 zoning district, hereinafter referred to as the project. Mr. Rocha, do I have a staff report?
Good evening. Yes, we do. Okay. So, good evening, Commissioners. I'm Vice Chair Malakoff. My name is Manuel Rocha, Assistant Planner here with the City of Cathedral City. Today, I bring before you conditional use permit number 16040B for the expansion of an existing cannabis cultivation site into an adjacent 2,500 square foot building by the applicant Neil Richardson on behalf of JN Stock Inc. Incorporated.
Manuel, can you hold on for a minute? My NDI was on, and now it's off. Is the IT person here to turn it on? Sorry about that.
No worries.
You have a tendency to hit that.
I think they're doing something remotely.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Rocha, I'm sorry, but now my computer is set. Thank you.
So today I bring before you conditional use permit number 16040B for the expansion of an existing cannabis cultivation site into an adjacent 2,500 square foot building by the applicant Neil Richardson on behalf of JN Stock Incorporated. Unfortunately, the applicant wasn't able to attend today. The proposed project is located at 35655 Bankside Drive. The property is zoned Commercial Business Park District with a general plan designation of Business Park. Within the site, there are 2 existing buildings. To differentiate them, the building to the north will be referred to as Building 1, which is currently operating as a cultivation and distribution use, and the building to the south will be referred to as Building 2, which is the proposed cultivation expansion. The project site is approximately 2,500 square feet in size. The site has been developed under the original cannabis entitlement approved in December of 2016, which permitted cultivation and distribution in building number 1. The project consists of 8,390 square feet of total cultivation, distribution, and ancillary space. This square footage would require a total of 9 parking stalls, including 1 ADA van stall. 16 total stalls are being provided on the site. Therefore, the project meets the minimum parking requirement. The landscaping for the site will also remain as approved under the original entitlement, so there will be no modifications made to the landscaping. The municipal code states that any cannabis cultivation use shall not be located within 600 feet of a school, daycare center, or youth center, or within 300 feet of a residential zone. The subject project site is not within 600 feet of a school, daycare center, or youth center. However, the project site does encroach 40 feet into the approved Nirvana Estates development located in the R2 zone, which you can see here in yellow, where it does encroach 40 feet. So the code does allow for the setback from residential zones to be measured in 2 ways: from the cannabis structure to the nearest point of any legally permitted structure located in a residential zone, or to the nearest property line of vacant residential land. The property in question, how I mentioned, is the approved Nirvana Estates development, which has had a rough grading permit issued, and the final track map is currently under review as they are actively moving forward towards the construction of the project. When the project is finally built, there will be street and drainage improvements within the 40 feet, and the nearest legally permitted structure will be over 400 feet from the cannabis facility. And it is consistent with the intent of the separation requirement. So as you see here, the 40-foot setback does encroach, well, it would encroach onto the property. It will encroach 40 feet, which puts it exactly where the retention basin will be located. And then from the property line to the nearest structure would be 165 feet. So it would be fairly over the 300-foot setback requirement when it's finally constructed. Here you will see a current view of the project site along Bankside Drive. Here you will see building number 1, which is currently occupied by the applicant with a cultivation and distribution use. Here is building number 2, which is the proposed building in which they are looking to expand into with a cultivation use. Here are the proposed elevations, which is an existing 13-foot high manufactured building constructed of metal panels and metal roofing. The applicant will modify the building facade by adding a red, thick brick veneer wainscot to match the facade of building number 1. The floor plan shows that the building will be solely for cultivation use, including 3 flower rooms, a storage area, and ancillary space. New condenser units are proposed to be installed on the backside of building 2, which will be structurally mounted to slabs. They will be conditioned to be screened from the view of the public right-of-way. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission find that the project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to Section 15303, Class Number 3, new construction or conversions of small structures of the state CEQA guidelines, and approve conditional use permit number 16040B, subject to the attached conditions of approval and based on the findings contained in the staff report. I conclude my presentation, and I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Rocha. Commissioner McPhail, do you have any questions?
No, I think I just commend the staff for the report. So, you know you're reading a good report when you have a question and then it's answered about 2 paragraphs later. So the question I was forming, which you did answer, and the map that you showed conveyed as well, was about the proximity of the proposed residential development. I live up in the Cove, and I drive past that sign. I don't know if that's an old sign, that Tesoro sign, every day. So I was wondering about that, and the map that you created with the radius answered that question. So thank you. I do, Chair, have a, not related to this development, I have a general question, comment, observation, maybe request about the industry in general, which maybe we can chat about after we've dealt with this issue in commissioner comments or something.
Okay. Commissioner Mead, do you have any questions or comments?
I just had one quick question, which is, what is that building being used for now?
It's currently vacant.
Oh, it's just vacant?
Yes.
Okay. Did they build it with the first building with the intention to expand eventually, or were those buildings there before they moved
The
in?
buildings have existed. During the
Okay.
original entitlement, they did try to also move into that building. However, at the time, there was a requirement that would not allow cannabis uses north of East Palm Canyon Drive. Since then, that requirement has been removed, which is why they came in with the application.
Thank you.
Okay, just to, as I understand it, and from your answer to my email, so the code has two ways of measuring residential. One is from an empty lot that's residential, and one is when there's a structure. If there's a structure, then you measure the distance from the edge of the lot to the structure that's residential, and that would be the distance requirement. If it's a vacant residential lot, you would measure it to the edge of the right-of-way, where the residential zone starts. So what the code does not do is say what happens if it's like kind of in between. It's vacant with a project that's been approved and it's in construction but not being built. So what we did was we measured to where the first proposed building would be when it gets built because it's under construction. And within the 300-foot radius, you just have landscaping and drainage. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's good that I understood that. Then the second question, I don't mean to, I think I'm going to ask this every time for cultivation, but the cultivation and dispensary facility that had such a problem, I won't mention who they are, with the air filters and the air curtain, I just want to make sure that we discuss that with them and they know about those conditions. If they were here, I would ask them, but did you make them aware of those?
So the conditions of approval were provided for them to review. I'll go ahead and I'll reiterate that condition to them, just so they do know that that is required. And then they do have that facility located in front of the proposed building, which does currently have air.
Yeah, before they sign the
curtains.
conditions, when you call them in to sign the conditions of approval, just make them aware of that if you don't mind. Because, we'd hate to see an appeal to the council or an appeal to us, because I don't think it's going to go anywhere. We really need to take care of those smells that come from this area. So thank you for making sure that those conditions were taken care of. If the commission doesn't have any more comments or questions, I will open the public comments for anybody from the public that would like to comment on this project. And Madam Secretary, is there anybody that's put in to speak on this project?
No comments, sir.
Okay, so if that's the case, there's no further comments. I will close the public comment period and ask for a motion. We've gone very quickly. So we have a motion, and do we have a second?
I'll second.
And then all in favor?
Do we need to read the motion?
Yeah, apologies, Commissioner Mead. You made the
Did we-
motion, so you would need to say, I make a motion
Wait, did we skip
to-
something?
Yeah, we didn't
Read the motion.
Yeah,
Oh,
approve.
Since I moved it, I can read it.
yes. Well, no,
Or do you want to do it?
yes, go ahead.
I move that we find that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, pursuant to Section 15303, Class Number 3, new construction or conversion of small structures of the state's CEQA guidelines, and that we approve conditional use permit number 16-040B, subject to the attached conditions of approval and based on the findings contained in the staff report.
And we went a little bit backwards, but that was the motion for approval, which we've already done.
Do you want us to
And then-
re-vote? Okay.
There were no additions to the conditions of approval, so
Apologies
I think it's
for that.
approved unanimously. And I think I did the secretary's job, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So we're moving at lightning speed. So the next item is there a discussion on future agendas? Is our next two meetings being held in September?
I don't have anything to report at this time.
So will we have a meeting September 11th and September 25th?
We may have meetings on September 11th and September 25th. We just haven't confirmed those yet.
Okay, you'll let us know. Okay. Commissioner reports, is there any, did you have something, Commissioner McPhail?
Yeah, I had a little comment. I had emailed Mr. Firestein just about general observation in my long career sitting up here in two meetings where each of them had a cannabis facility. And that got me interested, especially as I live up in the Cove, about, and as a geography grad, the concentration of cannabis facilities. And I know from reading the staff material and, you know, the municipal code that, you know, facilities can only be located in certain zonings, and they have to be a certain number of feet away from schools and residential areas and so on. So I'm imagining that probably greatly diminishes which parts of the city these facilities can be in. And as a newcomer, I think it would be kind of interesting, useful for me maybe to have a good handle on what is the universe of places where they can be, because there certainly is a significant concentration, and maybe that's fine. Maybe that was the intention of the locational requirements that were put in place, that they would be in one particular part of town, although I think we just heard in the presentation that there was some other locational requirement that has since been removed. So that's kind of interesting. So, I know there's a cannabis task force whose job is to inform the City Council about issues regarding the industry. And just for my, out of my interest and for future meetings where this might come up again, is just to have a sense, maybe from staff, about where they can be located and whether this is something that's been considered in the past about the issue of concentration, whether this is what we expected the requirements to result in.
Well, Commissioner McPhail, if you were here just a little bit earlier, I was discussing that with our advanced planner, almost that exact subject. And I think that I think there's two things that come from what you said. One is that it was designed in such a way, different than other cities, that it was designed in such a way that it's concentrated in one part of the city rather than spread out all over the city. And, but I think that in the future, we're going to have the steering committee for the zoning update, which we're building from the ground up, and I think that might be a time for us to discuss different location requirements when that chapter comes up. And I think that we might want to think about issues such as locations from a school, locations from a place of worship, and things such as that, and maybe even have distance requirements between the facilities. But we don't have any of those now, but we could. And I think the other thing that you bring up that I think that I can suggest if staff would be agreeable is I really like the map that Mr. Rocha did, and we have not seen anything like that previously. and I thought that was very helpful. But maybe we could have maybe a 5-minute presentation at the next meeting just to go over the location requirements so that we're all clear on them. And then either, oh my God, my memory is so bad. Dominique, I can't remember Dominique's last name.
Camps.
Ms. Camps or Mr. Rocha can do a presentation just to say, okay, so when we're looking at this, it has to be 100 feet from Palm Canyon, it has to be 200 feet from resident, just so that we're all clear on it. I think that would be really helpful if you could do that.
Yes, we'll look at scheduling that.
Thank you.
I think that would be great. There's like 3 zonings where facilities are allowed, so it'd be kind of interesting to see where are those 3 zonings, then to overlay where are the schools, and what does that leave us with at the moment for the future.
That would be very helpful, and just to understand all the distance requirements. I look forward to that presentation, so I hope we have that in the very near future. Commissioner Mead?
I don't have anything.
I do not have anything else either. And that would bring us to Madam City Attorney. Do we have any comments or reports from you?
No reports tonight. Thank you.
Will we have another training when the new commissioner comes on board, or would that just be for excuse me, let me rephrase that. I feel like I know you all so well that you've already been through the training. So since we'll have 3 new commissioners, will we have another training session that you did when I started?
We can definitely arrange it.
Okay. Any staff comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I guess this could have also been discussed for future agenda items, but as you know, our Associate Planner Cynthia Schultz did a series of workshops or discussions on the zoning code update, all in preparation of releasing our request for proposals to be able to get consultant proposals and ultimately select a consultant. And so what we're wanted to advise the commission of is that we've been discussing about a selection committee to go over the proposals that are received. And what we'd like to suggest is that at a future meeting, we come back with a discussion for the commission to select 2 members to be part of the selection committee along with planning staff. This would, we don't know how many proposals we're going to get, so we could get 1, we could get 10, we could get 20, but depending on the number of proposals we get, there is an investment of time needed to go through them, and so we do wish to present that at a subsequent meeting and be able to get some members to participate in that process.
I think that would be very interesting. I look forward to that selection and picking the 2 best members to participate in that committee. If there's nothing else, I think we will adjourn at 6:24 p.m., which I think is a record.